Hello and welcome everyone. I'm Clara Mavellia and I founded the Cultural Entrepreneurship Institute in Berlin. Today my guest is Fredrik Skavlan. Fredrik is a well-known and much-loved talk show host in Scandinavia. I'm delighted he's here with us today so we can learn more about his work. But first, please have a look to his show reel. Thank you.
Please welcome Vice President Al Gore. This is Cheryl Cole. Jason. Holly Humphrey. Andrea Bocelli. I'd like to do this interview standing, if it's okay. Do you ever fight? I mean,
what
the
hell is that supposed to mean?
Being such a strong person as you obviously are, did it bother you to get this image as a weaker person?
Definitely. Definitely. Being labeled as a victim was the hardest part for me.
You're comparing yourself to Frank Sinatra.
It's always good to compare yourself to people you look up to, right? Because you give yourself a high goal. You set high standards for yourself. And, you know, pretty much the way he lived his life and the parallels and how he affected culture is what I strive to do.
Are they insured?
They actually are.
They are?
Yeah, I mean, this is my life. A portion of it, at least.
I was high on gas and air when my daughter arrived. And then when she did arrive, I sort of went to the window and held her aloft. And I did, and I actually said...
Like the Lion King?
Yeah, I said, behold,
Like Michael Jackson.
Theodora Rose. I actually said those words.
I can't believe I'm sitting here with a He-Man and a She-Wolf.
Fredrik, welcome to our community.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me.
You are as famous as you are popular. What does it make you so successful?
Well, isn't that a favorite question? I don't know if it's me. I actually don't think it's me. I think it's more the show, the show that I'm making. More or less, I've been doing the same type of talk show for the last 15 years. First, I started out in Norway, in the Norwegian market, on Friday night, and I did 9 years. And after that, I decided to quit. But then the Swedish television came and asked me to do the same there, and I decided to combine the two countries on a Friday night. And now we've done like 100 programs in Sweden as well. What makes it, as you say, successful is that it's truly about the guests. It's truly about it's not about the host. It's about the guests. I'm a huge fan of the American talk shows with David Letterman and Jimmy Kimmel and Conan O'Brien and Jimmy Fallon, and they are comedians, and it's about them being funny and shining, you know. And I think that my shows are best when I'm almost not there. I think that if I succeed in my work, it's very often when I do very little. So I think that if I have a gift, it's the gift of knowing when to shut up. I think that's quite important, actually. Because sometimes when I have more than one guest, they will start to speak together, and they will start interviewing each other, and this will happen quite naturally. And that's a wonderful feeling in that room, you know, when it's like a natural conversation. It's not only me asking questions, me being the moderator, but I'm starting it, and then it evolves into a big conversation. So that's how we build the show. We build the show with first me and one guest, and then instead of changing guest and sending that guest out and having another guest in, I'm just having another guest in. And we continue the conversation in a way with the first guest, and then the third guest comes in, and we will continue. And it's like, so it's absolutely one-on-one interviews as well, but it will evolve into a bigger conversation. And I think that's what people like.
So this means that you have such a good product, that as usual in business, if you have a good product, you don't need very much advertisement or public relation. It's, you know, it's just having a continuation and the conversation that you start with your guests. Can you say that is continuing at home by your audience?
Well, I like to think that. This is a full hour every Friday night in Norway and Sweden. And I like to think that what we are discussing, which are big universal topics very often, I'd like to think that somewhere you have couples and families continuing that discussion after the show.
Every time I am in Sweden and I watch your show, and I am really every Friday evening riveted on your show, riveted by your show, and I always every time I have the feeling I am there myself, and this is why the conversation can continue. So the idea is so. I just want to ask you, how do you do that?
Well, the idea is if you actually, this is quite physical, because it's the way we put the chairs. You know, I'm not a host with a desk. I'm a host with just sitting in a chair like all the other guests, and I'm just sitting like I was one of the guests, and it's a horseshoe. 4 chairs for guests and another chair for me, and what I want people, the viewers, to imagine is that they have the 6th chair to make it a circle, and I think that's the way we produce the show as well. That's the way we our director will decide the pictures. You know, it's to get that feeling that you're a part of the. You're a part of the conversation, you're a part of the dinner party or whatever it is, you know, but you're a part of it. And I think that's why we can keep the viewers for a full hour. What is interesting is that for the last 15 years, we've been doing this show more or less using the same recipe. But we have fewer guests on today than we had before, but we have more time. So today it's like a full hour, and it used to be 40 minutes, and now it's a full hour, and we used to do the same amount of guests or more in 40 minutes. So what this tells us is that it's possible to expect patience from the audience, even in television.
You were moving from Norway to Sweden.
Yes.
And I think this is also something very, very peculiar to your show, that you are working with Norwegian and Swedish, so that you are popular in all Scandinavia. I mean, as far as I know, they have a similar language, but they are not quite cultural. There are many differences. Or how do you see that?
It's a similar language, but it's not absolutely not the same language. And a Norwegian will understand Swedish more easily than a Swedish will understand a Norwegian. Being the smallest country, we have adapted, you know, so we really try to understand the other languages, and that was advantage, I think, that I do understand Swedish, but I don't speak Swedish. I speak a mix of Norwegian and Swedish. It was a high price to pay to lose my language, but I needed to do that to be able to do this job, because to be a Norwegian succeeding in Sweden, it's quite rare. It's and this is because Sweden has so many successful people in this area, media and entertainment and culture, it was quite hard for me to enter the Swedish market. I was very nervous then. But what we had to do was that we had to stand on the shoulders of Swedish celebrities. So I did a first season in Sweden where I only booked, big Swedish celebrities. I had all that I could think of, the best guests that I could get, being the talk show host from Norway. And that gave us more than 1 million viewers from the first program. And today, with Norway and Sweden, we're between 2.5 and 3 million viewers, and the biggest television show in the Nordic countries.
How many inhabitants are in Sweden and in Norway? Or
I think it's about 5 million in Norway and 8 million in Sweden. So I think that my market is 13 million approximately. So we have a good market share.
Yeah, great. But if we stay on the language, it's very interesting because your English is also very excellent. So the idea is, do you pose different questions when you change a language? Or
I don't know. I think that the most interesting thing, I really love this as a language project, because my English is not excellent. My English is very limited. The thing is that because it's limited, because my language when I speak Swedish and when I speak English, I get more aware of what I'm saying than when I speak Norwegian. And that changed me as a host as well, because when I speak Norwegian, I'm totally relaxed, and I know all the words, and I also know all the references. So I can use any reference, when I speak to my Norwegian audience, I know all their references. I feel that I can use, humor references that will work very, very nice. And then I moved to Sweden and I realized, here they will understand nothing of my references. They don't know where that is and who that is and why it's fun to mention that celebrity when I talk about that topic, this kind of references. Yeah. And this was quite a moment for me, because it was like when I started in Sweden, all my references was taken from me. I didn't have them anymore. I couldn't use them, and that was a huge limitation as a host for a talk show. But then I thought maybe that was what I should have done years before, because it's not like when you live in a country. It's easy when you work in media to think that everyone knows that, everyone knows what I know. But it's not like that, But because not because my audience is very intelligent, but they don't know the same things I know, and I don't know the same things they know. So we have different information, and I think I should be very much aware of that as a talk show host, and now I am, because I work in 2 totally different markets, and I have to. It's the same show. They watch the same show. And so I really need to explain everything very, very in detail and without talking down to people,
Yeah.
So that's a challenge, but I think it's very important.
Isn't that the emotions, they are always the same, or do you see any difference also between the emotions?
No, that was the key, Emotions, that was the key. What we found out was that when we started doing this show in 2 countries, we needed to focus more on story than on celebrity. Of course, we could still have the international celebrities because everyone would know who that is. But as soon as we have a Swedish celebrity or a Norwegian celebrity, the probability of the other country not knowing anything who that was is very, very big. And so we had to find something else to make them interesting. And this is the way we started to work, you know, to find story, to find something that was universally interesting, something that you could really be fascinated about as a story itself, not because it's a celebrity telling it. And that was, I think that was the big change for me, to start to work that way. And story is about, I mean, telling a story is about emotions. It's always about emotions in some way. And I think that to me it's not about making people happy all the time. It can be about making people happy. It can be so what you would call a feel-good talk show. Of course we can do that, and from time to time it absolutely is. But also we want to do a feel-bad talk show, or we want to do a challenging talk show, a provocative talk show, a controversial talk show. So we want really to fill that hour with all emotions, and all kinds of topics and all kinds of discussions. I think that's very important.
Mm-hmm. So is there a plan when you invite different people? So are you planning how they will interact? So in order to have more interesting conversation or discussions?
Yes, and the bigger contrasts, the better it is. So if you have like 4 pop stars, it's boring. But if you have one pop star meeting a brain scientist and a politician and an author, that's a wonderful mix, you know. So it's I think the contrast is really the key here. That's what will make the show interesting, and you should get the feeling that these people have never met before, and they will never meet again. and it's so this is the time. This is when they get the chance to speak to each other, and very often they find common ground. Very often they find each other fascinating, and they recognize themselves in another guest, and it's wonderful.
Isn't that sometimes a coincidence that some guests are there? Because how can you plan that? I mean, such celebrities have time just on that day that, I don't know, the brain surgeon have time. Is there sometimes even a coincidence that you throw people together?
Well, you need some luck, don't you? I think that luck is really a part of it, and I think that because the hard part of this is not the hosting job; it's the booking job. It's finding the guests and persuade them to come to Stockholm or to London, where we also record. We record partly in Stockholm, partly in London, and to get them on the show at the right time. It's very, very hard, of course, but we have a good reputation. And we've been on for many years, so people know us. We don't start with the red thread, you know. It's not like we start with saying, "Oh, today we're going to talk about unrecruited love," you know. That's going to be the big thing in this show. But we're going to come back to it several times, and it's going to be the thing, you know. That's something we discovered perhaps a day before the show. A day when we working with the script, you know, with my questions, we can see, oh, they have that in common. Look at this, they have such and such in common, and that's very nice. Then we can talk about that, and then we see some big topics that can be very nice for the show. But we work with 4 or 5 different stories, different persons with all their individuality and hopefully, as I said, the big contrast. because we want this huge contrast between the guests, so they are as different as possible. And then we discover some common ground, and I think that's a wonderful combination.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But now would be interesting by the so many celebrities talking about your emotions. Are you not at all? So do you get used to be together with celebrities, or do you have these thrilling feelings every time you say, oh, I'm gonna meet Rihanna, and you say, oh, I'm gonna meet Rihanna, oh, another celebrity.
No. I'm very excited about meeting Rihanna, of course, but I'm also excited about meeting a scientist we might have on, or a local politician, or whatever. I think that the way we are choosing the guests is by using emotions, by using our gut feeling, who will make an impression, who will make this show special, and that might be Rihanna, but it might also be the guest you never heard about.
But you have not only pop stars or this kind of media stars. You also have a member of the government. Not only the Swedish or the Norwegian governments, but governments from all over the world. Do you think in this way to have also an influence on the political order, or is just because you want to show? So how is?
I don't think.
How does it work at all?
Well, it's of course the impression that a politician can make on the show might be important for him or her career, his or her career, but it's I wouldn't say that we have a huge influence. I think that media might totally have some kind of influence, absolutely, but we are just a drop in the ocean here. It's I don't like. I've been asked that a few times about power. Do you have power? Do you have media power? And of course we have. Of course, my team and I have that. But I don't like to think about it. I don't like to. I like to think about it in terms of being responsible, and being careful not to be biased. To be neutral in a way, to be balanced, to be truthful, not to make mistakes, not to say things that are wrong. In that sense, I think it's very important to feel the responsibility of the public service channels that we are on. And the privilege we have is a huge privilege to make this show. But I think that if you start to think about power as being something you can use, it's not good. Then you're on the wrong path, I think. And so I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, but in a way you can have impact. You can have also positive
Absolutely,
impact.
Yes, but we don't work. That's not why we do this. We don't do it to have an impact. We don't do it to have an. We don't do this show to change society. We do it to enlighten society, to enlighten the viewers. We do it to entertain and also enlighten our viewers, and to give them something that is not only a waste of time, but also you end up knowing something you didn't know before.
Yeah, so it's a kind of cultural project, actually.
Well, yes, I hope so. I hope so,
yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's well, that's a nice effect of it. Anyway, it's the idea is to make a talk show. That's as simple as that. It's just a Friday night talk show.
Yeah.
But I think it has become more of a cultural project with two countries and the mix of the kind of guests we're having on. Yes.
How do you combine family life and professional life?
It's really difficult sometimes, but my answer to that problem has been to truly combine it, to bring my kids into the family around the show, to the team around the show, so they all know my kids. I need my kids to know what I'm doing, and I need them to, and I need my team to know my home and to know my family. And because I live and breathe this show, you know, this is what I'm doing, and I've been doing it for as I mentioned 15 years now, and I've always been working a lot. I've been working a lot since I was 17, 18. So it's a very big part of my identity, and I think that the reason that I am still very, very close to my kids and do spend a lot of time with them is that they kind of know this identity very well, my work identity, and I involve them in it. I invite them into it, and we talk about issues that I discuss at work. I can discuss at home as well, and also I think that's one part of the answer. The other part of the answer is that I take a lot of time off. I take the weekends off. When I come home after recording, I don't watch the show. I do something with my kids. And I have the weekends off, and I have a long summer holiday, and so that's how I combine it. Yes.
But do you have a philosophy of life for your life? A life philosophy, let's say? So a vision or something that you, I mean, what are you teaching to your children for values, or do you have a pattern, or you're just...
That can easily sound that can sound very pretentious, but I think that the one thing I have to teach them is that you need to find purpose. You need to find out where are you useful. How can you make yourself useful? I think that doing this kind of television that we do is to me it's meaningful because it's about something. It's more than empty entertainment. So it's I like that. I'm definitely a public service guy. Yes.
Yeah, but what did you make you the person you are?
I think it's very much family. It's I'm the youngest of 4, 2 brothers and a sister, and my mother is still alive, and we meet several times a week, and we dine at least once a week, and we have a lot of discussions, and we very often disagree, but we are also very close. And engaging in each other's work and life very much, too much sometimes, but it's great anyway. I wouldn't miss it for the world, and it's a wonderful thing to have a big family. And as the youngest, you know, as the youngest of 4 kids, I've been sort of hosting this talk show for my whole life, you know. It's the part I always had, you know.
But what was the key factor for your work? Was that more intuition, or you had a plan for your career path?
No, and this was never, doing television was never, ever a part of my career plan. My ambition was to become a cartoonist,
Nice.
a newspaper cartoonist. That was my ambition. And so I started out as such, and I still do cartoons for the newspaper and for books and children's books and that sort of thing. So that's what I do in the summer. And then I started writing, and I went into journalism, and well, I was asked to do television.
But how comes that you are so good to let your guests open their hearts?
No, but I think that what was the key, because I was fortunate to have quite immediate success when I started doing television. I was 30 when I started out. I'm 46 today, and I think the reason I succeeded and it went well was that I was actually quite shy, so I didn't have too many questions. And and it was like I did the interviews that lasted like 10 minutes, and I only had like 5 questions, and then I was out of questions, you know, but because I didn't know what to ask, and people interpreted that different than what was the truth, because they thought I was a very good listener. But the thing was, I didn't know what to ask, so I just let people talk, you know, and they just went on talking, and I was just sitting there polite and waiting and hoping they would talk for a long time, you know, because it was like I couldn't fill the time with my very few questions. And then I got this reputation of being such a wonderful listener, and but later I've been thinking that maybe this is a good thing. Maybe you should know when to shut up, and as I mentioned, that might be one of my very few gifts, that I know when to shut up.
Yeah.
But I think that it's when I it's when I moderate the show and with moderating the show, I'm just making it work, you know, making it. It's like when you play pool, you know, and you make one ball hit the other ball, hit the third ball, hit the fourth ball, and then I just start it, you know. I just start it, and then it works. It sort of comes alive, and that's when I like it.
Yeah.
And also when it get you know, totally when it goes off the rails, you know, when the show totally goes a different direction than I had planned. That's my favorite, and people watch it and think that, oh my God, Fredrik, he must panic now. But I really enjoy that. I think that's wonderful.
So no plan, just follow the flow.
Well, I
follow
have a
your
plan.
intuition.
I always have a plan. But I love it when we can't follow the plan, when we have to change the plan.
Okay.
I think that's the best thing.
Would be interesting to know how a working day of yours looks like.
Well, my working day is it's long, but it's different. Each day, Mondays are different from Tuesdays, from Wednesdays and Thursdays. And Thursdays are recording day. And then we have spent the week preparing, reading, researching, booking, you know, all this preparation work that I do alongside my team and with my team. And we sit partly together and work out this week's show and next week's show and discuss, you know, several possibilities that we have. And but when it comes to Thursday, when we are recording the show, that's when I become the host. No, and then we go to the studio, and I have some makeup on, and and I don't eat. But before, just before the show, when I'm really hungry and my stomach is empty, I have a big bowl of chocolates that you know, pieces of chocolate that I eat very fast. So my blood sugar is like up there when I go into the studio, and that makes you very much awake. I know it's not healthy, but I do it anyway, and a lot of coffee, and we're on.
Yeah. But you were mentioning your team. How important is your team? How many team members do you have, and how is your relation to them? Are you more no, I cannot imagine that you are the authoritarian, but
more than you would think. No, it's it's a few things to say about that, because it's my team is unique. My team is so much a part of this show. No one could understand if they're not working here. I've been working more or less with the same people always. You know, so I'm still working with people that I started out with in the end of the 90s. And I'm also the people we started out with in Sweden. We have, they are still working with us. And I think when I travel around and talk to other talk shows around the world, you know, like the big American talk shows and the big English talk shows, and we have that in common. We always have these people that we've been working with for years, the same people around us for years. So I think that this is something in a business where people switch jobs all the time. This is not happening in these talk shows. We do tend to keep the best people for years.
Mm. I have a question, you know, related now to ethics and travel properly. You know, nowadays it's like that. It's much easier to travel, and of course all these guests and all these conferences and talk shows. There are many people flying around, and you know, and we all know that traveling has an impact to the environment. But at the same time, if we stay home, we are not really improving, because culture is only possible when you get out of your, you know, cozy place. It's a kind of dilemma. How do you solve that? You are yourself traveling back and forth, do you think
the traveling is a huge dilemma, because it's something we need to do to make this show, and yet it's something that I find boring and tiring in many ways. But we have to do it to get, at least the guests will have to travel, and I will have to travel, because I have my family partly in Oslo, and I record the show in Stockholm and in London, so I need to travel. But what we do is that we have half of my team is in Oslo, and half of my team is in Stockholm. And instead of all of them traveling as we did the old days, we traveled back and forth, all of us. We now use a big screen, you know, with this system that we can really be together virtually. So it's not Skype, but it's something
hangs out.
Yeah, something better actually. It's more. We can even have an argument, you know, without interruption, without delay. It's very important. So we have that big screen with the sound and everything. We have that on the whole day, and it's like we're in the same room. And that's a wonderful thing, as it saved us a lot of traveling. But when it comes to recording, I need to go to Stockholm, and it's an hour flight, and it's terrible. So I have my carbon footprint is the size of Luxembourg. It's terrible.
But the show must be live. Why does such a show in the media must be live? So can you explain that?
We need to do the show live because we need to have them all in the same room. For the same reason we have a studio audience. It's all about atmosphere. It's that we need people to really share this moment, to look each other in the eye, to listen to each other, to take part in the bigger conversation. And it's hard to do virtually. It's something I don't think we'll ever get there.
So the emotion are still, the emotion among human being has to be personal.
Physical, of course. Yes, that's the way we are.
Yeah. So it's like music, or it's
yes,
different.
And it's a kind of, you know, when you find a new friend, or you fall in love, or you want to meet, you know. It's not enough to just see each other on a screen. That's not good enough, you know. And we really want people to meet in a proper way, to have this moment, share this moment together. Yes.
Yeah. We were really hearing so many fascinating things. Thank you for that until now. But if we now come to a conclusion, what would be the message or something that you really want to give to the community out there that is listening to us? Is there something so really important among all these things you were saying? You know, we're talking about now that is still important to be together, to touch, to have this, you know, to create some atmosphere. It's not enough virtually, even if we have now so many.
I think that I don't have a message, but what I have is, as a media man, I mean, I came from the newspaper world. I've been a media man for many years, for 25 years. And I think what I've learned, the most important thing I've learned through this work with a talk show that will challenge the viewer, a talk show that will not avoid the difficult questions, that will not avoid science, politics, combined with pop stars and sports and more easily digested stories. What I've learned is that when we can still be the biggest show in our territory with this kind of content, is that media will very often underestimate the audience. And I think that's a very important message, that we should not underestimate the audience.
And as a person, with all your experience and your being famous and yourself a celebrity, and it's maybe difficult to deal with, even if I don't know. But at the end of the day, what does it matter really in life? What would you say?
In the end of the day, I think that what matters is that you spend time with people that you love, and with people that somehow it will be inspiring, and that you can inspire them, hopefully. And by that I mostly mean family.
So let's say, where do you think you can put your energy next? The energy that you get also from your audience, from your work, from your family, which are your plans for the next or for the future?
I have a lot of work I should be doing in the garden. So that's where I should put it.
Great. So then, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.